Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So for the last couple of months, it seems like we've been trying to decipher riddles when it comes to the whole Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford saga. We get tiny hints of what's going on, and then we have to figure out the rest. Errol Spence, he just dropped a tweet where he said, "Announcement coming soon." Now, the reason why this is interesting is because Errol Spence, he already said he doesn't want a tune-up. So when you hear him say announcement, it can only mean two things. Either he is still fighting Terrence Crawford next, or he's fighting another big name. Maybe not as big as Terrence Crawford, somebody like a Keith Thurman, or I would like it to be more like someone like a Virgil Ortiz. But that most likely won't be the case because Virgil Ortiz will most likely tell you he's not ready to fight Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence, even though he's the #1 contender. Now, ever since Terrence Crawford made this announcement that he's fighting this year against David Avanesian, people automatically assumed that the Terrence Crawford-Errol Spence talks are completely over with, and both fighters are going their own way. But I told you guys, when I first heard this news that Crawford was fighting someone else, I never looked at it as it being the end of the negotiations. I looked at it as Terrence Crawford perhaps fighting someone while he's still negotiating the Errol Spence fight. Terrence Crawford, he had already told Errol Spence and Al Haymon that he wanted to fight this year. Regardless if he was fighting against Errol Spence or not, he wanted to have one fight this year. And then he said he's fighting Errol Spence after that. And then Errol Spence came out in that leaked audio footage, and he made it sound like he was still extremely optimistic that the Terrence Crawford fight was still going to happen. He said things like, there's nowhere else for Terrence Crawford to go. He can't go up to 154 and fight my bro Charlo. He's going to have to come see me. He said the only fight he wants is Terrence Crawford. He said he didn't want any tune-ups. So a lot of the stuff he said, I couldn't understand a lot of what he was saying in that leaked footage. But a lot of what he was saying, it sounded to me as if they were still negotiating the fight. And now here he is saying that he has a big announcement coming up soon. You know, the good news about this is Errol Spence, it sounds like he is still very optimistic that this fight is going to come to fruition. Because Errol could have easily walked away from this fight and said, look, I gave you a chance, we negotiated, and now I'm moving on. He could have said that. He could have did that right after he found out that Terrence Crawford had another opponent. Instead, Errol Spence is doubling down on making the Terrence Crawford fight, which is a clear indication that both Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, they really want this fight bad. Now, when it comes to Terrence Crawford's next fight, we've been told that he's going to get paid $10 million to fight David Avanesian. As long as that fight didn't interfere with negotiations to make the Errol Spence fight, it was a no-brainer for Terrence Crawford to take this fight. We've heard reports that they had already pushed the fight to next year. Keep in mind, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, they have been negotiating this fight almost half a year. But once again, as long as both fighters still want this fight, there's a very good chance it's still going to happen. You know, I get people sending me screenshots of people's videos or just stuff that they posted on the internet, and it just amazes me how you still have a lot of fans that seem like they're more happy that the fight is not happening, and it really excites them to say Terrence Crawford is ducking Errol Spence. He doesn't want the fight, etc., etc., etc. This is all the proof you need. Let me just start by saying this. Even if that were true, that Terrence Crawford, he really wanted no smoke at all, the whole 5 years he's been calling out Errol Spence, it was just a facade. It was fake. He was acting like he wanted to fight, and he never did. Let's just say hypothetically all of that is true. Even if that were true right now, that Terrence Crawford pulled out of this fight because he doesn't want any smoke with Errol Spence, that wouldn't make me happy. I would be disappointed. Just like I would be disappointed if Lomachenko doesn't take the Devin Haney fight. I'm not going to be posting anything on the internet with laughing emojis celebrating because Lomachenko didn't take the Devin Haney fight for undisputed. But for some reason, some of these fans, they seem to be celebrating every time there's bad news about this Spence versus Crawford fight. Someone responded to Errol Spence by saying, could have been this guy, Terrence Crawford, but he didn't answer the effing door. Errol Spence said, it's cool, I'ma spin the block. These are good signs, guys. This also tells you that Errol Spence knows that Terrence Crawford is not playing games. Because if Errol Spence felt that Terrence Crawford was playing games and he really didn't want the fight, there's no way Errol Spence would be talking about coming back to the table or continuing to negotiate at the table, as if he's never even left the table. Neither one of them. So Errol Spence clearly knows that Terrence Crawford still wants this fight and is still trying to make this fight. Or else Errol, he would have walked away and never looked back. And one more thing before I end this video. There's also a small possibility that Terrence Crawford is not going to fight David Avanesian next, and he's going straight into the Errol Spence fight. There's a possibility he was exploring his options, or maybe he was just using those talks as leverage to close the deal with Errol Spence. These are things that are all possible, but once again, because we're on the outside looking in and they don't give us that much, we can only speculate. But we're going to find out soon what the deal really is. I'm on to the next one, y'all. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, fever blisters, diabetic ulcers, this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Errol Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to erroldequis.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.